Alright, well, I haven't been able to work on the 210 lately because I'm just busy with summer projects and stuff like that. It's across the street there, and I had the mower deck over here. I took it off the night I got the tractor, and it was actually really simple. It's been sitting in here ever since, and I figured instead of selling the deck and getting the money for it, I figured I would use this tractor as a backup mower, and for getting into to mow places that the LA 150 can't get into, because the LA 150 has a 54-inch deck, and it's a good deck, but the only problem is that the bigger the deck, they say, the less quality the cut, and it's not really good for getting into tight spaces, obviously, because that's the biggest deck that they offer for that series. So I figured I would use the deck for the 210 to get into smaller places. This is a 39-inch deck, which is actually somewhat unusual. And John Deere, if I'm correct, they made like 10 or 12 different models of mower decks for the 200 series, which is kind of funny because there's only 4 different sizes. But I mean, they made versions where you could have 3 wheels or 3 gauge wheels, or you could have 5 gauge wheels, and they had all these different kinds of things. Each one has its own serial number tag. And this is the original deck that came with the tractor. It's 39 inches. It's a little bigger. The 2 sizes that were normally offered for the 200 series were 38 and 46 inch. And then John Deere made 38, 39, 46, and 47 inch decks. With optional extra gauge wheels. Like that bracket right there, I believe, is for a gauge wheel, but this doesn't have it. So I took the deck apart and I started cleaning it up, and it came off real easy. It's much easier than taking the deck off the LA 150. It's much quicker. It only took me some extra time because it had never been off the tractor before, and the pins were rusted. Just, 'cause the tractor was sitting outside for a long time in the dirt. But all you have to do are you remove these 2 draft arms here. I have everything bagged up. You have your 2 draft arms there with a pin at the top. The pin's loaded with the spring, and the spring goes through the frame. So you just pull the pin out, and it removes itself from the frame, and then you just pull the 2 arms down. You've got your 2 hanger arms, which you can see right there, and the hanger arms help with lifting the deck. It kind of acts like an eye bolt, and so you take those off, and then you have up in the front here, you have a roller, and you have these 2 U-pins, and they're also loaded with the spring. All you have to do is just pull the pin, pull it out, and it detaches from that draft plate right there. The draft plate mounts to the underside of the tractor at the front, and then that can come out too. And it's that simple. And then obviously you have to remove the drive belt. And what's cool about these decks is that they use 2 different belts. This is your primary drive belt here, and this runs from the power takeoff down to the mule drive, which twists it, and then to the deck idler gear, which is right there. That sticks out above the deck, and then underneath it you have a second pulley there, which drives the secondary belt around to all the gears. You've got your 1 spindle there, 1 there, and 1 there. And then it twists around back to the idler, and it's all covered up with that spindle cover right there. It's one big piece. I think the bigger decks had 2 pieces, but this is just 1 piece. You can see there's a slot for the deck idler to stick out. And it comes off with 6 nuts and bolts. It's actually pretty easy. So I got that off, and there's 30 years worth of dirt and grime and rust under this thing, and not just 5 years from like the LA 150. And I thought that was a lot, but I went through here with a putty knife before, and I tried to scrape all of it off, and I barely got any of it. It's just caked on there. It's almost like it was part of the metal. But just look through there. You can see how badly caked it is. And that's after I came through with the shop vacuum and cleaned all of the dirt out of it. Just dirt and grease and grime and all that stuff. There was a lot of grass clippings. Obviously, there was some pieces of ribbon or Easter grass or something caught up in the belt, which means that the previous owner had run over something like that. But I cleaned that all up. I still haven't cleaned up some of the tight spaces. But the spindles, they're not that hard to remove. You have to flip the deck over to remove the spindles. You have to undo them from underneath. And the discharge chute on this is missing. I actually see a lot of them like this. I don't know if it came from the factory without a discharge chute, but it's much simpler. It's another metal piece, and it just bolts on. It's loaded with a spring, and it just bolts on between here and here. And it's real little. It's not wide and plastic like the chute on the LA 150. That thing, I mean, that's plastic, so if I run into a fence or ride it up against something, it won't break. The metal would scrape against it, and that's not good. So I'm actually glad that isn't there, because I really don't have a use for the discharge chute. That just puts the grass clippings where I don't want them. So, this particular deck has 3 gauge wheels. You have a roller up in the front there. I took the gauge wheels off, but you got one wheel there, which can be set with a cotter pin. You can set it at different heights to prevent scalping. There's your other one there. Here's the gauge wheels here. You can see these are already pretty scalped pretty bad. I'm going to go through here and pressure wash it all and clean it up, and the belt's starting to crack too, like right there. And you know, that's typical. You have to replace the belts after so long. You got your tensioner spring here, and here's some of that thread that got run over. Now, so that's the top of the deck. I'll flip the deck over so you guys can see what it looks like underneath. Well, here's the underside of the deck. It's a 3-blade deck. I think any size is smaller than this, smaller than a 38-inch deck, have 2 blades. But this has 3 blades. It's got another roller here, which is kind of neat. It lines up with that roller right there. And you got your 3 blades here, which are actually in very good shape. They're not rusted. Well, obviously they're rusted, but they're not dinged up or nicked or anything like the blades on the other tractor. And these do need to be sharpened, obviously. I think I'm going to just get some new regular blades. I'm going to put mulch blades on the LA 150, so I don't need the mulch blades on this, because I'm going to use this for heavier mowing. Look how badly rusted this is. I mean, God knows what has passed under this deck, what's been cut with this deck. And this is 30 years worth of grass and dirt and rust and mud and all that stuff that's caked under there. I went through here before and I tried to scrape it all out, and that's unbelievable. The blades are easier to take off. You don't need a 15/16 inch socket like you do on the other tractor. It's real simple. And you got this big washer here. But the only problem is that since you have a secondary belt that drives all 3 blades, if you spin one blade, you spin all 3 of them. So you have to be careful when you go to take the blades off. If you just want to take one blade off, you got to be careful, because you got to take a 2x4 or something, and you have to position it just right so that it jams up all 3 blades, because obviously a socket wrench is a little hard to use when you're spinning it and the blades are spinning with it. So I'll get those removed. Now here you got your nuts, bolts, and washers to remove the spindles. And yep. So I'm going to clean that up. I'm going to have to take the pressure washer and clean that up outside and get all the junk out from underneath it. And yeah, so that's really where the project stands right now. I figured I would get this out of the way first because it's going to be much easier. And hopefully that'll go real quick, but hopefully I can get this working again. My PTO needs to be fixed. The PTO on the 210, it's not working properly. It won't engage, so I'm gonna have to get that fixed first. Then I'm gonna replace the. I'm gonna finish, get some new stuff for it. I'm gonna have to replace the belts and everything, and so, yep.